Hey, and welcome to the Ambitious Bookkeeper podcast. I'm Serena Shoup, CPA, a mom of three, and I've been running a virtual bookkeeping business from my home since 2017. You are in the right place if you are a bookkeeper, accountant, or an accounting student, and you believe and know in your heart that your purpose is bigger than sitting in a cubicle. If you're ready to learn some actionable tips and strategies for starting and growing your accounting business, then I hope you stick around. If you're trying to figure out what to charge, where to find clients, and what tools you actually need to start your bookkeeping business, this episode is your ultimate roadmap. I'm breaking down the pricing strategies that actually work, smart ways to get those first few clients through the door, and a non-negotiable tech stack that every bookkeeper needs. Oh, and if you're stuck wondering what services to offer beyond the basics, I've got you covered on that one too. Whether you're just starting out or you're fine-tuning your business, this one is packed with gold. It is a live Q&A replay from inside of my community from March of 2025. So grab a notebook and let's dive in. Hey, and welcome to the Ambitious Bookkeeper podcast. I'm Serena Shoup, CPA, a mom of three, and I've been running a virtual bookkeeping business from my home since 2017. You are in the right place if you are a bookkeeper, accountant, or an accounting student, and you believe and know in your heart that your purpose is bigger than sitting in a cubicle. If you're ready to learn some actionable tips and strategies for starting and growing your accounting business, then I hope you stick around. Welcome to March live Q&A. We are at the end of Q1, which is crazy to think about. If this is your first live Q&A, welcome. This is a space for you to ask anything and everything about running a bookkeeping business, whether it be client work, whether it be pricing, mindset, anything is on the table. If you want to know kind of behind the scenes of how I handle something, I'm an open book, so feel free to ask. And yeah, I'm here to serve you guys. So here to answer your questions. All right, Giselle, good morning. How do you keep track of COGS for clients? Are there any resources or tools you recommend? So most of my clients all of my clients are cash basis except for my SaaS client. But for my cash basis clients, they typically keep track of COGS in their Shopify and on their own. So when we record COGS on the books, we're not usually doing accrual method because our clients it's not that it wouldn't be valuable to them. Clients haven't seen the value in that, and so they're not really willing to pay extra at this point. The way that we handle COGS is we just record all purchases to COGS. Now, you can do like a periodic inventory methodology where you get a year-end or a quarter-end inventory count and then adjust COGS based on what inventory is at quarter-end. That's a more cost-effective way of doing it. However, that still requires the client to do a physical count. And typically clients aren't wanting to do that even at year-end for some reason. Yeah, so for that client that's under accrual basis, I don't know what industry they're in, but if you want to share a little bit more in the chat, I can help walk you through that. If they are e-commerce, so it's going to require them recording what COGS is in their inventory management system. So if they're using Shopify, they need to be recording what they're paying for items and updating it in Shopify frequently. And that's where it becomes like clients want this information, but they don't understand that they have to do the work to get the information. We can't just come up with it off the top of our heads. So if they actually want an accurate cost of goods sold month over month, they need to be updating their Shopify. And that's not our job, unless they want to make it your job and then they need to pay for it. But typically it's someone in-house that does that. The alternative is, like I said, if they do need perpetual or periodic inventory. Perpetual inventory is where they would be updating COGS and you would be doing like a FIFO method. If they are okay with doing periodic inventory, where you're just recording all the cost of goods purchases to cost of goods sold, and then at quarter end or year end, you take a physical inventory account, You pull all the invoices for what things are at year end to get the value, like what they purchase things closest to the end of the year. You get a dollar amount and assign that to all the items, and then you adjust inventory and COGS to get that accrual method. So that's how I used to handle it when I worked at a grocery store. We were accrual method, but we did periodic inventory. So we did counts a couple times a year. And so then our books were kind of wonky on June and December because that's when we would adjust cost of goods sold and inventory. But the year to date number was accurate, if that makes sense. Giselle, even if they're accrual basis, for tax purposes, they're not required to hold inventory on the books unless you're like at 20 million revenue or something. I can't remember the exact number, but it's pretty high. So it could be that maybe for tax purposes, they don't really need to be tracking inventory, but for running your business and figuring out your profit margins, it is important. So it's a toss up. Nick says the biggest struggle that I'm having is in deciding whether or not to start a bookkeeping business is trying to understand what services to offer and demand for those services. I'm probably overthinking it, but I just don't want to start with an offer that nobody wants. That makes total sense, Nick. So congratulations for dreaming of taking the leap and getting on this Q&A. So one of the things that I like to talk people through on figuring out what services to offer and all that is, and also you're worried about demand. So two things that I would probably suggest that you do. Number one, do market research. So look at what other bookkeepers are offering. Maybe hop on calls with other bookkeepers if they're willing to share what offers are working for them and just kind of get an idea of what's out there, what's being offered. A lot of people put their prices and their menus on their website. I'm one of them. And this is how I did my initial research. I just looked at other bookkeeping companies, big, small, everything in between that I could find. And I looked to see what other people were offering. And then I took that list and I went through it and was like, I don't want to do this. I do want to do this. I think I'll try doing this. So some of those things were AR and AP and payroll and writing checks and stuff like that. So you look at those services and decide what you actually want to be doing. And then the third thing that I want you to do is do some market research with clients. So if you can get in a group of other business owners, whether it be local or virtual, and ask to get on coffee chats with people and see what it is they're struggling with with their finances and what kind of services would be helpful. And take all three of those pieces of research and construct your offers. So I can tell you from my experience, this will probably just cut down the research for you. And anyone is welcome to share in the chat your experience as well. I've gone through phases of offering different things and working with different businesses. And now we have things pretty well narrowed down. We don't do AR except for a couple clients. Well, one client we do some invoicing for, but we don't typically chase down payments unless they're bigger contracts. And so typically people pay. So it's not like there's a high volume of AR that we have to chase down payments for. So we invoice the clients. We make sure that per her contract, they're being invoiced correctly, and we do the billable expenses for her. And that requires the client communicating very well with us. So that kind of service doesn't work well if the client isn't communicating with you, because you have to get the information from them to be able to invoice their customers. And then I used to do AP. That also became a little bit cumbersome and it's high touch. It's something that you have to do weekly and go back and forth with the business owner on approvals and things like that. So depending on how involved you want to be in their day-to-day business is going to dictate some of the services you offer. Are those services in demand? Yes. Do you need to offer them if you don't want to? No. So we also offer payroll setup and integration. So we are like a liaison and we help people set up Gusto and we monitor the integrations and make sure that everything's flowing through the bookkeeping software correctly. But we don't actually perform payroll for clients anymore. That is one thing I did at one time. It became a lot like the AP situation where We pulled time cards. We needed the client to approve it. At that point, they could just be logging in and approving them. So it kind of, sometimes it doesn't make sense and sometimes it does. Some clients really want everything done for them and they're willing to just hop on a call with you and let you know yes, no on things. And so those are 3 services that you may or may not want to offer, but they are in demand. And then the rest of it with building your bookkeeping services is around the minimum that you need to do is coding transactions and reconciling the bank accounts. And I would argue that reconciling the balance sheet is also part of that. I know a lot of people are intimidated by that, but I think it's very important to understand the balance sheet and make sure that you're reconciling that at least quarterly or annually. Sometimes with certain loan accounts, you can get away with doing it annually. And then delivering reports. I'm a huge stickler on, even if the client isn't looking at them, making sure they know that they have access to their monthly reports and making them meaningful. So doing month over month instead of just January, February, like one at a time. Like as the year goes on, you add a month to the comparison so they can see how they're trending over the year. Those are the things that we offer our clients. We code and reconcile everything. Some of our clients are e-commerce, so there's a little more intricacies in reconciling with Shopify and everything. We use A2X. And some of our clients we do sales tax for. Most of them we use TaxJar, but that still involves reconciling it and making sure that TaxJar is remitting the correct amount and all that kind of stuff. And then from there you can go up and offer higher level services. You can offer meetings. We found that a lot of our clients just weren't booking their meetings, so in certain packages. So we actually did away with monthly meetings except for my CFO level package. And we do monthly Loom videos, overviews, and we send financials with bullet points in the emails. And and then one of our packages has an annual meeting if they want it. And then one of our packages has quarterly meetings if they want them. Again, clients typically don't book meetings. So that's why we found ways to deliver the reports and the deliverables without having to have a meeting. But it depends on the industry. You might be in an industry where clients prefer to hop on the phone and have a phone call. It's all, it's all relative. Hopefully that helps, Nick. I'm still a W-2 employee, so I don't really have an online presence and I don't really have a local network of business owners to gauge the demand. I think these things would help and maybe I should start there. Yeah. Well, hopefully what I just went through helps a lot, gives you some things to think about. Also, I have a free training. If you go to ambitiousbookkeeper.com/training, I actually walk through tech stack services and helping you figure out what services to offer and what it actually takes to run a bookkeeping business. So that training would be great for you if you haven't taken it yet. Again, it's free. It's at ambitiousbookkeeper.com/training. All right. Christine says, good afternoon. Just starting my business, struggling with the best way to find clients. I've been applying on Upwork and no results so far. Looking to contact local CPA firms and see if they outsource bookkeeping. Any suggestions on where to look for clients? Yes, so Upwork is a great place to start. That's where I got my start. It is a grind, though. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not sure how often you're applying for stuff, but I was applying for 10 plus jobs per day to get any traction. And then being one of the first people to apply to certain jobs is going to be in your favor as well. If there's more than like 20 applicants, you might not get looked at all. So it is a numbers game and a timing game on Upwork. As far as other places to find clients, talking to local CPA firms is great. A lot of them don't want to do bookkeeping. Some of them do. So it might be kind of a 50-50 thing. Otherwise, I would also network locally. I don't know if you have a chamber of commerce or a young professionals group. We have a young professionals group that's like a subgroup of the chamber of commerce here. And so I've gotten really involved in that, and we do education events and things like that. So I will be speaking to the group, and that's another really great way to find clients depending on your industry. Podcast interviews, doing trainings at co-working spaces. If you're comfortable with that, even if you're not, I would suggest trying to get comfortable with that, because when you can speak in front of a group, even if it's just a handful of people or on a podcast, I find podcasts are a little bit easier to get over that hump of speaking. being behind a camera is a lot easier than, or a microphone is a lot easier than in person. So it's a great place to start. But once you start speaking and talking about what you do, you become an authority and build trust a lot faster. So those are some of the best ways that I have found clients. And then referrals from existing clients. I know that's going to come later once you start getting clients. But when you get your first client, your first couple clients, do the best job that you can with communicating and giving them a really good experience, because you want to wow them and have them start referring you. So that's going to be key as well. Other areas to find clients: Facebook groups of business owners that you are wanting to target. So it can be local businesses. I'm not sure if you're in a bigger city or a smaller town. My city / area, it's like a tri-city area. In the tri-city area, I think we have about 100,000 people. So it's not huge. And there are lots of Facebook groups for entrepreneurs, business owners, moms in business, all that kind of stuff. And if you don't have one in your area, start it. Just be the one to start it and be the one to cultivate that group. And that would be an amazing opportunity for you too, because then you'll be like the go-to person that's connecting people, and people will know about you and your business. So if we didn't already have that in our town, I would have started it. There was like, we have a moms in business Facebook group that was kind of dormant for a while. And I was like, I want to get this thing going again. Who is in charge of it? And so I just like started poking around and getting people to like reactivate it. Otherwise, I would have started a new one. So I have a puppy dog wanting to play. A big.
We'll be back after a quick break. This episode of the Ambitious Bookkeeper podcast is sponsored by my brand new free training, The Ultimate Guide to Creating a Profitable Bookkeeping Business. In just 1 hour, you will learn 3 keys to creating and launching a profitable bookkeeping business. We will map out your path to creating a bookkeeping or accounting business that keeps you in control of your time, priorities, and expertise. From someone who built a 6-figure firm on part-time hours. That's right, you can stay in control of your time, keep family as your priority, and serve your clients well. It just takes a little strategy up front, and I'm going to help you with that during this free training. So head over to the show notes to sign up now for the next training and find out how you can choose the work you do, kick imposter syndrome to the curb, use tech to be super efficient, which all leads to a profitable business. Just head on over to ambitiousbookkeeper.com/training, and I will see you there.
Big wild puppy dog. He's almost 5, but he's a chocolate lab, so he acts like he's still a puppy. All right. So I hope that helps, Christine. If you want more resources, my blog has things up there on where to find clients. So if you go to ambitiousbookkeeper.com/blog, listen to the podcast, there's lots of free resources on there. I'm sure there's multiple episodes on finding clients. And then lastly, I do have a mini course that's only $37 called the Bookkeeping Client Closer. In that, I go through how to find or establish who your perfect fit client is, where to find them, and then how to close them. So I go through the whole process of basically attraction, marketing, and sales. So that's going to be a really good resource for you if you're just starting out as well. Okay, Michael says, hi, Serena. Hello. Do you do any project accounting for clients? I have a smaller, less than 1 million gross production company that is wanting to see cost breakdowns on specific production jobs. It is for managerial profit tracking purposes only. They're currently on QuickBooks, and it is an okay process, but it's new to me, and I'd rather move them to Xero if I could successfully do the work. Any thoughts, specific or general? I don't do any cost breakdowns for clients. I do know that in the past, I've worked with some clients that were kind of light manufacturing, and then also some clients that were trades, so like HVAC. And we had talked about doing costing for that type of stuff. And it always came down to the clients needing to enter information differently in their sales system or whatever they were using, or communicating it with me. No one was ever willing to do that legwork. So that's what I'm going to say is, like, make sure when they come to you and say, I want this, make sure they understand that most of the legwork is going to be on them. Most of the onus is going to be on them to give you the information so that you can create this costing analysis. So I unfortunately don't have a ton of experience of doing it in QuickBooks or Xero, but I would go straight to the program's training option. So go to the Xero University and find the training on how to use the project feature and do some YouTube University research. There's got to be something out there. I know anything you find on YouTube is probably going to be in like Australia or England or something, because Xero is really popular over there. But that also means that they're probably utilizing the program as such, and it will be very similar. So don't be deterred by where the YouTube, video is coming from. So yeah, I would start there. And if you can't find any traction in that area, I would contact your Xero partner person. What are they called? I can't remember off the top of my head, but your contact at Xero that like helps you grow your business, and ask them for resources. They might have some too. If it's not on YouTube or not on Xero University, it should be though. So I would start there, and you may have to just kind of like create the process as you go. And if those clients are willing to do their part of the work to get the information, it'll be a really great learning experience. Just document everything as you're building it, because that'll help tremendously as you grow. Ingrid says, what would you suggest to be the best mini tech stack for someone who is starting out? Oh, all right. I don't know if you were on earlier, Ingrid, when I mentioned my free training. I do go through Stack. We also cover this in the Bookkeeping Biz workshops, which I normally do those 2 times a year, but this year we're only holding them in the fall. So I have a whole day dedicated to Tech Stack, but I do have most of that information inside of that free training. If you go to ambitiousbookkeeper.com/training, there's a section where I cover a tech stack. I would say if you're just starting out, the best tech stack, obviously you need to figure out which, your accounting stack. So that would be, if you're going to do payroll, what payroll service provider you want to work with, bookkeeping software. So whether it be Xero, QuickBooks, FreshBooks, whatever, pick one and just go for it. And if you don't want to like narrow yourself down to a certain software, you can wait until you get your first client and then go with that software, and then go through the training for that software. Make sure you're utilizing it appropriately. So payroll, accounting, and then why am I drawing a blank? Receipt capture. So that's another thing that is a game changer if your clients are willing to use it. We use Hubdoc, so even if clients don't use it, we provide it to them because it's included with their Xero subscription. And we let them know, like, if you use this, you'll have audit proof books. If you upload every single receipt, we will have less questions. So it helps everybody all around. And so that's your like accounting stack. And that's the basic of like what you need to like do the work for the clients. And then the other back office tech stack, I would suggest have a scheduler. Don't start booking discovery calls, doing emails back and forth, like what time's great for you? Okay, I can do this, but I can't do that. Just get a scheduler. You can usually start on them for free. Like Calendly has a free version. If you have Google Suite, you have a scheduler built into that. If you use Dubsado, you can use their scheduler. So that there's very affordable options out there. You don't have to do the back and forth on the calls. So definitely get a scheduler. Zoom you can manage for free as long as your meetings don't go over 45 minutes. And then Loom also is a really great thing to have because you can record videos and send them to your clients and not have to have meetings. Basic tech stack. And then the other thing I would say is, yeah, do a Google Suite so that you have access to, then you won't even need Zoom. You'll have access to Google Meet. You'll have access to creating like a scheduler, appointments, and all that kind of stuff. And then you have your email that's more professional than a Gmail. So I would say if you can only invest in like 1 or 2 softwares, I would do Google Suite and make sure you have a scheduler if you're not using that one. And I'm trying to think, probably project management. Even if you only have a couple clients, you will be thankful that you've documented like the steps of what you're doing every month, especially if you work with clients in different industries, because they're all going to be a little bit different. So I would invest in a project management. You can use Asana for free we were on the free version for quite a while, even with a team. So definitely a project management system And yes, you can do that in a Google Sheet, I suppose, if you don't want to pay for a system or aren't sure what you want to use yet. You can always start with a Google Sheet or an Excel sheet. So that would be my recommendation for the best mini tech stack for someone starting out. Make sure you have a scheduler, or you can just go and use Google Suite, and then you have access to a bunch of tools that you need. If you want to start doing some like social media marketing or be able to create graphics and stuff, Canva has a free version, so you can start creating stuff on there, and it's pretty easy to use as well. So that would be my recommendation for like a marketing type stuff. So I hope that helps. Go take the training though. There's more in there, and I give you a whole checklist so you don't have to take notes or anything. It's all laid out there for you. Okay, let's see. Nick says most local businesses in my area are on Facebook. I was thinking that would be a good way to get the word out about bookkeeping business. Absolutely. Definitely use Facebook if there's a lot of local businesses on there. That's how my town is. Everybody's on Facebook. Simone, I think Simone or Simon, I'm not sure. Sorry for joining late. I'm in the UK. May I ask how you recommend charging clients? No worries for showing up late. This is an open Q&A, so you can catch the beginning of the replay on YouTube. How I charge for clients, I recommend charging a flat fee if you can. I know it's really hard to figure that out initially, but what I did to figure out my flat fee, and I share this process in my programs. I share it in BBA, and I also share it in Pricing for Profit, which is a mini course you can get on my website. So what I did was, first you have to figure out the services that you're going to offer. So what your packages are going to be. And then I basically created a base level fee for what I need to make per client and nothing less. So there's more work involved in this, obviously. I'm not going to be able to explain it in like 5 minutes, but the first step is for you to actually figure out how much you need to make overall and make it worth it for you to be running this business. And so then once you have that number of like, this is what I need to take home, you can then back into what your revenue is based on your software costs. If you have team, paying your team, things like that. But likely if it's just you, you're really just talking about your software costs initially. So once you have your total, what you need to make number, bring home, you back into your revenue. Now you have your revenue goal. This is very summarized information. I walk you through this step by step in that Pricing for Profit mini course and inside of BBA. So you have your revenue goal now. Now you can decide, okay, how much do I want to work? How many clients can I handle? And at what levels? So like what the number of clients I can handle might be different than the number of clients you can handle based on the client size that we're dealing with, right? So if you have more clients, but they're less complicated, you can handle more clients. So then you decide about, this is all an estimate type of stuff. This is all the legwork that you have to do to kind of figure out where you need to price. And so it's not just a like price like this answer. You've got to do the legwork for you and your specific situation. How much are you able to work? How much capacity do you have? How efficient are you? What types of clients do you want to work with? What types of revenue are those clients at? Because that's a really big key is if you want to work with fewer clients, so then you're charging more, you've got to work with bigger clients because they have to be able to afford you. You can't work with micro clients that can only afford $100 a month. It's just out of alignment. So you have to make that decision as well, or start to make that decision. You may not know that right away until you start getting clients, until you start putting yourself out there and see what it is people need. So you might need to adjust later on. And that's something that we've done as well. So once you kind of decided what type of client, what size of client, how many clients you can handle, how much you can work, you then basically, I would assign yourself an hourly, what you want to be able to charge, like realized value. It's not that you're actually charging an hourly rate, but you plug in basically an hourly rate that you would want to pay yourself. So for me, I usually plug in $150 as an hourly rate just to make sure that when we price the packages and we estimate how much time it's going to take to do that, we're hitting that hourly rate. So that's when what comes in is figuring out the packages that you're offering. So I'm not against charging hourly. Sometimes well, at the very beginning, I charged hourly, and that's how I figured out how long things took me. So if you have no clients yet and you have no idea how long things are going to take you, then you have to start there. Otherwise, you might end up shooting yourself in the foot and underpricing and losing money by working with a client and flat feeing them. So if you have no clients yet, don't be afraid to charge hourly for the first couple clients to get your bearings on how long certain tasks take. And then you'll get to a point where you realize, okay, this size of client with this many bank accounts or a range of bank accounts, say under 5 bank accounts, under 100 transactions per month. This client only takes me about 30 minutes to do the bank transactions and reconcile the bank accounts, and then another hour or 30 minutes to run reports and summarize them, depending on the services you're offering again. So then you have kind of a baseline of how long things take you. And then back to what I said about charging having a base fee is I want everyone to establish a monthly fee that they're not willing to go below. Like if no matter what, if clients come to us, the minimum that we charge them is $450. And that is established because in order to make it worth it for me, my team, and everybody to work on a client and get the profit that we need to run this business, have to charge $450 for the type of clients that we're working with. So that's our minimum, that's our base fee. So we actually post that on our website, on my intake form when clients are, our interest form, when clients are interested in working with us, we have them acknowledge that our minimum fee is $450. It's not guaranteed that you'll be in that bucket, but if you at least afford that, if not, then I wouldn't even bother filling out this form. I don't say it like that, but that's basically what they realize. So figure out what that base amount is based on your profit goal and your revenue goal, and then deciding, okay, I cannot go below $450 per month if I want to hit my revenue goal this year or next year or ever, right? So you've got to decide what that number is based on all those factors that we talked about. So if you want that step by step and to dive deeper into that, I have a spreadsheet, a walkthrough, and everything on how to figure all of that out. That is in the Pricing for Profit mini course. That's at ambitiousbookkeeper.com/store. And then it's also inside of the Bookkeeping Business Accelerator. So if there's other things like marketing and figuring out your services and all this other stuff and setting up your business that you feel like you need support in, that is all inside of the Bookkeeping Business Accelerator. So I would recommend go watch that training first. Then when you watch that training, you get a special offer for the Bookkeeping Business Accelerator. So that's always my recommended course of action. All right, that was very long-winded. I hope that was helpful and kind of gave everyone an understanding of like pricing isn't one size fits all. It's not easy to figure out initially, especially if you haven't worked with any clients yet. So it's okay to charge hourly if you need to. And you can always just raise your prices for the next client, change your pricing methodology for the next client. You don't have to change it for everybody you already have when you start changing things. That's not how we did it. Like when I would raise my prices, I just raised it on all the new clients coming in. I didn't go back and tell everybody like, okay, that's what I really screwed up on pricing. Although I have had to do that. Hopefully I can save y'all from having to do that. Michael says, that makes sense. Thank you for your thoughts. My other clients have foregone project tracking for the same reasons as yours. This newer one has an employee in charge of reviewing transactions and assigning specific projects monthly outside of accounting software. And then their bookkeeper, now me, ties those transactions in the software. It'll work for now, and I'll investigate some of the zero resources on it. Yep, sounds like a good plan. Yeah, absolutely. Just want to take a moment and thank you for your podcast. It's the reason I started my business. Oh, thank you, Ingrid. Thank you so much. That means the world to me. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen every week, if you listen every week or binge every so often, and just knowing that my podcast helps people is what helps me continue doing it, because sometimes it does feel like we're just speaking out into a void. So I really love hearing from people that they listen to the podcast. I'm curious if you would let me know, anyone here, if you listen to the podcast, number one, and number two, how you found the podcast. I'm very curious about that. That's one thing that I'm trying to figure out, how people are are finding it. The only data that I really have is when people join my program, I ask them where they heard of me. And so a lot of people end up saying the podcast, but I still want to know, like, how did people find the podcast? Did you just like search it up inside of your podcast player, like search up bookkeeping? Did somebody recommend the podcast? Did you hear me on Earmark ever? Because we did have some episodes up there for a while. Well, they're still up there, but I haven't done any new ones in a while. Megan listens. I think I searched Bookkeeping CPA podcast and Apple. Workflow Queen. Oh, she's my biz bestie. Yeah, awesome. I really appreciate the feedback. I'm always curious. I personally discover podcasts usually from just searching topics inside of the podcast player. And so it's interesting to hear how other people find things because, I mean, not everybody has the same methodology, right? And I hardly ever look at YouTube. Like, that's not where I go first for things. I usually still use the Google or now the Chat GPT. But I usually, if there's a topic that I want to like listen to and I don't want to get an audiobook, because sometimes audiobooks just like aren't conversational enough for me. So I like podcasts. And so I'll go into the podcast player and just search a certain topic that I'm interested in learning about. And that's how I find the podcasts I listen to. Yeah. All righty, everyone. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. The Bookkeeping Biz workshops are coming back this year, but it's not going to be until August, September-ish. So this fall. In the meantime, if you want to go through any of my trainings, the best training to go through, especially if you're brand new or if the first couple years in business, is my free training, The Ultimate Guide to a Profitable Bookkeeping Business. You can access that at ambitiousbookkeeper.com/training. And some other resources I mentioned today, I will have linked below the video. One of them was the Bookkeeping Client Closer and the Pricing for Profit mini course. I think those are pretty much all the resources we talked about. And then BBA, of course, is always open for enrollment. There's two versions. There's a VIP version. There's a self-paced version. The VIP version typically only opens when we do the workshops because I've previously been running it in cohorts. However, you can now join VIP anytime, and we actually have our calls monthly. So we have a monthly VIP coaching call where it's group coaching, and we have monthly co-working where you can hop on and get stuff done and have me or my team in the chat to support you. And then we also have these live Q&As every month for additional support. And then when you're in VIP, you also get access to exclusive Facebook group where you can ask questions any time of the day. And I usually answer within 24 hours. So you get access to that. All right, cool. Well, thank you again so much for hopping on, and the replay will be up on YouTube, or if you are in BBA, it will be in your portal as well. So thank you all so much for joining, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you to everyone who helps make this podcast possible. Content and interviews are produced by me, Serena Shu. Our intro and outro music is written and performed by my brother, Ian Gilliam. Editing is also by Ian using his awesome sound engineering skills along with Descript software. Hosting and publishing is by Buzzsprout, and you can check out the show notes for links to all of these amazing resources and resources mentioned in the episode.
Be ambitious.